friends, my name's Doreen Foxwell. Welcome to today's Kids Yoga Meets Astrology. Today we're going to talk about the upcoming eclipse and all of the energies tied into this eclipse and everything else that's happening in the world of astrology. And so right now we had an event that happened that I believe ties into this eclipse and the energy of the planets affecting Earth already. And that was, there was an earthquake in Taiwan, earlier this week, and there was just an earthquake in New York and New Jersey and PA and Connecticut. But the epicenter was actually New Jersey, but it was felt in all of those states in the Northeast. They don't get earthquakes very often. Do they get earthquakes? Yes. But of the magnitude that they got, 4.8 I believe it was, that is one of the highest ones on record. I think it was number 3 as far as one of the highest ones on record, maybe number 4. But either way, and do I feel as somebody who studies astrology that this is due to what is going on in the cosmos? Absolutely. Many astrologers predicted we would see earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes, water issues. And in fact, on March 25th, when we had the lunar eclipse, and our eclipses, they happen in pairs. This one happening Monday is the second of a pair. It's let's say sister eclipse or whatnot was the lunar one. The one Monday is a solar one, meaning moon, sun. That first one that happened March 25th, it created an energy that next day of that eclipse here in the United States was when we had a ship, a barge, crash into a very large bridge in Maryland and took the whole thing down. That energy is an energy that has to do with the elements of the zodiac signs that the planet Mercury was going through. And Mercury is one of the closer planets to us, and its energies affect us because of that. Mercury, and I'm going to talk about Vedic astrology, not Western astrology, because right now everything going on with this eclipse and everything going on with the energies, for me, I'm choosing the path of Vedic astrology, the older astrology, to describe the energies. In Vedic astrology, there's something called a Gandanta. Gandanta is when a fire and water sign hit, come together, create a knot of energy. And that knot, that tension, and that is exactly what happened that day leading into when the ship lost power, whatever it is that they figure out happened, crashed in the water. Remember, this was in water. And this ties into what can be expected or, predicted when it's this type of energy. Fire energy into water energy. Now the two signs are water into fire. The two zodiac signs that came into play then are coming into play on the same day of our eclipse. And that was in Vedic astrology, the sign of Pisces and Aries. And Mercury traveled from Pisces into Aries. Pisces being a water sign, Aries being a fire sign. Gandanta. Okay? Now, this is happening again on Monday, April 8th. Same thing, except the reverse. And the difference now is Mercury at that time was not yet officially in retrograde. It was starting to slow down, leading into, but not in retrograde. This time, the planet Mercury is in retrograde. It appears to be going backwards. It is very slow, having an impact on communication, on all kinds of travel, on electronics, computers, the web, emails. All of that is affected in a Mercury retrograde. And this Mercury retrograde is going back from Aries, the sign of Aries, which again is what's called a fire sign, into Pisces, which again is a water sign, again creating what's known in Vedic astrology as a Gandanta. Think of water boiling, okay? So that intense energy of fire and water is getting created on Monday, on top of the eclipse energy, okay? But that is not all that's happening. Bear with me for the next things that are coming, okay? Next thing that's coming is there is a comet that comes around, and we can see from Earth once every 74 years. And this comet has a special name. It is called the Devil's Comet. Imagine that. It has the horns, the look of a devil. And it's coming into the path directly that can be visible from Earth on, you guessed it, the solar eclipse on Monday, April 8th. So now we have this Gandanta happening between Aries and Pisces, or Pisces and Aries, again in Vedic astrology. Okay, we have the eclipse happening, and then we have something else going on. As if there's 2 or 3 things already. Well, that day of the eclipse is leading into the planet Mars and the planet Saturn. Now, these 2 planets are very different energy, but they're going to be traveling the same path, or we call it conjunct in astrology. I like to just say that they're very close, even though they're not close in the sky, but they look like they're very close in the sky. They're traveling the same path. Let's say the same road, the same highway. Well, Mars is all about aggression. Mars is the planet known for, back in the day, for the planet of war. And then you have Saturn. And Saturn is like, chill, slow down. Saturn is the planet of karma, of lessons, life lessons. So you've got one planet in the same highway, kind of like when you want to do 55, 60 on a highway, and you can only do 35 wherever you are, or you've got somebody in front of you blocking you, you know, the road rage feeling. Think of that. That's kind of what it's gonna feel like happening right after the eclipse. The 2 days following the eclipse is this kind of energy, that they are going to be really challenging each other, these 2 energies. So it's very possible you'll see floods or earthquakes or hurricanes. You know, basically the energy is going to blow over. Now, is it possible this won't happen? Absolutely. But the conditions are ripe for this to happen. And that's the thing about astrology, to be prepared, to kind of know what could be coming. This is why the conditions being created in the energies can create this. Can these energies not happen? Absolutely. But, so that's another thing happening right with this eclipse. And there is one last one I want to share. Again, I study 2 different astrologies. There's Western astrology, which is kind of taught and shared in the U.S., and then there's Vedic astrology, which is the older of the 2 astrologies, the more traditional, let's say, astrology. And there's certain times that I feel like Vedic astrology fits the circumstances and the feel of the energy more, this is definitely one of those times that I am sticking with the Vedic astrology model. Monday is what is known as the Vedic New Year. Now, last month I talked about the astrology New Year because the astrology New Year's is traditionally the start of Aries season. But Vedic astrology kind of falls behind. It's a little bit behind what Western astrology chooses as when Aries season starts. So with Vedic astrology, it's an older, let's say, calendar, just like a Jewish calendar. A Jewish calendar does not follow the regular Western type calendars, doesn't follow our calendar. So when the Jewish New Year is every year, Rosh Hashanah is different than when our New Year's is here in the States. So you've got the Vedic New Year happening on, you guessed it, on Monday, on the when you're going to be celebrating this awesome solar eclipse happening. Now, what does a new year mean? A new year means in astrology and in the Vedic astrology, it's when they're creating the next calendar for the next year. It's when things are getting charted. So it's the opportunity for you to switch directions, for your children's paths to change direction, for you to really look at what is going to be your purpose, what also needs to be healed in order to have that happen. Now, children are so young, and I hate to say children need healing. Are there some children that need healing? Yes, of course. There are some children that come into this world with illnesses and diseases and stuff. But I feel like they yet aren't part of this at a very young age. So I feel like we who are watching over our children and modeling for our children are the ones that have to show that we follow the directions and the paths that the energies are leading us to. So the last part of this that is also happening on this solar eclipse has to do with the asteroid Chiron. Now, Chiron in astrology is known as the wounded healer. Means that you need to look at your life on this eclipse or leading to it or after. What in your life do you need to heal? Not just physically. It can be spiritually. It can be emotionally. It can be in regards to relationships. It can be in regards to your career path. For every single person, what your karmic path is, what your Chiron, what needs to be healed, it's different and it's very unique to you. And it's a very difficult question even for adults to know, to look at their lives and know, I'm doing this as a career and you might be making a lot of money financially, but you're miserable, you're not happy, or you love your job, but it's just not making ends meet. So what could you do that you absolutely love that could help fill that financial gap? Okay, those are work things. Or I am so into astrology, let's say. I think I want to take a course. I think I want to take a class to learn more about it. And if that's the case, I highly recommend my astrology teacher, Debbie Levine, who has Fun with Astrology. She's an amazing teacher, and I don't say that lightly because there are some people that are meant to teach and others that aren't. She's a great teacher. She has found her path and passion, and she came from a totally different background than astrology. So love her. Maybe you want to study yoga. I didn't find yoga till I was in my 30s. it was something I wish I found as a child. I'm very proud to be part of the children's yoga world, which, by the way, today is National Kids Yoga Day, where we're celebrating and honoring all children's yoga teachers, children's yoga instructors, and programs here and around the world. And so that's a great holiday today. So we'll just add that to the pile up of things that are energy-wise. But there's a lot of energy shifts that are happening right now. And when this type of a total solar eclipse happens, you have to look at its path, because whatever path it has, it greatly impacts that area of the world. Well, I guess it's time for the U.S. to be impacted once again, because we don't have enough things going on in the USA. And I find it very, very interesting, maybe ironic, that it's going to be going through Mexico all the way up towards the top of Maine. Don't you find that interesting? If you live here in the States, I do not have to tell you what's been happening from Mexico. The next one it hits is Texas. Mexico and Texas, they are in the news every day, pretty much every day, with what's happening there with the border crisis. And I am not political at all. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but I am going to say God has a sense of humor that this solar eclipse is coming straight through Mexico, Texas, and going from there through the Midwest. Very interesting. And so I think I have touched on everything I wanted to share about the details of this solar eclipse. The last thing I want to leave you with are some yoga techniques that you can do to help regulate the energy that you may or may not feel from this eclipse and all the other things happening, or your child may or may not feel. One of the most important things that you should do this weekend is you should make sure you keep junk food out of your children's systems. Try to have your children stay away from those sugary snacks that I know we all love, and those chips. Try to have them eating as healthy as they can, because what might happen is their tummies and their systems will be greatly affected, possibly, by this energy that's going through us all. And for yourself, of course, for yourself. The other thing is meditation. One of my favorite meditations to teach children, and I wish I was sitting outside to do this, but have them sit up against a tree, touch a tree, stand between two trees, and just for a few minutes close your eyes and listen to the sounds of the trees, the leaves, the birds, the chipmunks, the squirrels. Take in all the sounds of the wind and the breeze. And that is one of the simplest meditations that you can do with your children and for yourself prior to this eclipse and even during the eclipse. And that concludes today's Kids Yoga Meets Astrology. May you have the most memorable solar eclipse in history, especially for us here in the United States. This one's going to go down on the record books, I'm sure. And may you be safe. I look forward to coming back next week. We might do another leading into the eclipse, but I think this is going to be the big one for you. Namaste. Have a great yoga day.